Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Dan Knight from Knight Landscapes. Dan runs a landscape construction company based in Geelong, and he started his early working days working in commercial landscaping. And then when he started his business, it was in residential. So it was great hearing how he made that transition and the benefits of learning from the specialist subcontractors that he worked alongside in other trades within landscaping when he was working in commercial, and how he translated that into his own way of doing things. And he also did a lot of excavation using large machines when he was working in the commercial world, and he got himself an excavator, a smaller excavator, when he started for himself as well. So he talks about the benefits of using that. And we also talk about some of the techniques that Dan has used to build up the business to what it is today. So some good tips in here for landscape builders. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Dan Knight. And Dan, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
Yeah, no worries, Joel. I started out pretty much how any other bloke probably started out doing landscaping. I was straight out of school. I finished school 2004, living at home with the parents, and my dad. I was fixing up an old car at that time. It was going to be my first car. It was a HR Holden Ute. So I just sort of tinker out there with it. My old man's like, when are you going to start? When are you going to get a job? And I never had a part-time job before that. And I didn't know. I always knew that I wanted to do a trade. I never sort of liked school too much. I enjoyed school, but I was never one to sit down in the classroom and do bookwork and all that. So I liked, doing practical sort of work. So I always knew it was going to be a trade. I didn't know. I wanted to be, my dad was a mechanic and his dad was a mechanic. So I said to my dad, I wouldn't mind being a mechanic. And he's like, nah, no way. He goes, you don't want to be a mechanic. So he turned me off being a mechanic. And then I had a few mates that were sort of in the same position. They were applying for jobs. And one of my mates got a job as a landscape labourer. He worked there for one day. It was commercial landscaping. And he worked there for one day and he got offered another job from another company, which was something else he was interested in. So he went and did that. And I said, why don't you give him my number and I'll go work for him. So he did that. And next day they called me up, this labour hire company. And I went down there and they said, look, probably only can offer you 2 days a week. I said, no, that's fine. I was living at home with my parents, and labourers back then, like any money I could get was good money. So I went in there and I was actually late my first day. I was 15 minutes late, turned up there, but I just put the effort in and just showed that I really wanted to be there. And I took the initiative, and we went from 2 days. I was straight away full-time labouring for them for, I reckon, a whole year. And that was for Robert House and Associates. They're like a Queensland-based company, but they actually had a division down in Victoria. That was commercial landscaping. So we did all the new housing estates, like the street trees, the playgrounds, the parks, the wetlands, all that sort of stuff. And then it got to about a year on, and I actually really enjoyed it. But a couple of the blokes I worked with, I told them that my first initial thought was to go and be a carpenter. So I said to one of the foremen there, look, I really want to, I'm thinking, I've been here for a year now, I want to go and get my carpentry apprenticeship. He goes, yeah, mate, yep, no worries, go out and do that. And then as soon, I got offered a job as an apprentice carpenter, and then I was going to go to Newport, start a pre-apprenticeship in Newport TAFE. And the boss found out where I was working. He's like, no, we'll put you on as an apprentice here. And it was the first apprentice they've ever had. Usually they would just have a few qualified guys and some labourers. So they offered me this position, and they were going to keep you on labourers' pay. So I was like, yeah, beautiful. At that time, first year landscaper was $8.50 an hour. So I was like, and the labourers' money was $15.10. Right. So I was like, yeah, we'll do that. And then I finished my apprenticeship there. And unfortunately, I always had that goal to go out on my own. And unfortunately, the company ended up going under. They had a few, it was all bit badly managed there. So they ended up going under, and then I worked for a rival company for a couple of months. And then I didn't really enjoy it because I was quite high up where I previously worked. And when I worked at this rival company, I was sort of like starting all over again. You were at the bottom of the food chain again. I was qualified landscaper, but you sort of starting in all the blokes there, you're down at the bottom again. So I didn't really enjoy that as much. And then, I started Night Landscapes 2010.
So they were both commercial companies that you worked for prior to that?
Yeah, both commercial. Yeah, both very similar. I found the first place I worked we had a lot of heavy machinery. They did probably bigger projects, but the second place was, very, very similar. Yeah.
And so did you start out doing commercial, or did you like with Night Landscapes, or did you go residential?
I started residential, so there was a lot to learn, I think, between commercial and residential. When we were doing commercial, we had a lot of subbies. So we had concreters, we had pavers, we had blokes that would come in and do the playgrounds. We mainly did all the excavation for all these guys. We did all the footings. We helped the concreters with concrete pours. We didn't really help sometimes we would help the playground guys, and we would do most of the planting. We'd have irrigation subbies as well. But I found myself sort of when we did get these guys in, like these guys were the top in their field. Like each guy knew that was what they did. So you found yourself watching and you're learning when you're helping them what they did, how the concreters boxed up all these footbaths, what techniques they use, what timber they use, what star pickets they use, how they do all the expansion joins, all that sort of stuff. So it really, down the track, it came in really handy when I started out on my own, because from watching them, it sort of gave me that edge knowing, because I would go to trade school and I'd see how most of the guys at trade school were residential, and we would do concreting at trade school and stuff like that. And you would see how they were boxing up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we don't box up like that. Well, we pretty much, when we worked with the concreters, nothing was fixed to the star picket. No, they wouldn't fix any timber to a star picket. Like the star pickets, it all held itself, and they would pack boxing up with bricks and all that sort of stuff. And so it was interesting learning all those things from other trades. There was one period there where I think it was before I started my apprenticeship. I was actually labouring, and they put me with a carpenter for 3 months, and just working with him for 3 months, it was really good just to learn and just see how he did things. He said to me, it was the funniest thing, because straight out of high school, you would, everything was in centimeters in high school.
Yeah.
And I would say something in centimeters to him, and he would look at me and go, "What are you talking about? It's millimeters." He's going, "It's millimeters." I'm going, all right. And so yeah, it was good working with all these older guys, and most of them were older guys. Even the concreters were these old Italian guys, classic concreters, but highly skilled, have done it their whole life. So I was grateful to work there. But then when I did start out residential, there was a few things to learn, especially with paving. I found we didn't do crazy amounts of paving in commercial. So just your mortar mixes and your back buttering and your techniques for laying just was a bit of a learning curve at the start.
Yeah. There's so many different ways people do things as well, but I love that idea of getting subcontractors in and watching what they do, because it's something I do as well. Like just when you're working alongside them, like you're just on a building site, so you haven't necessarily got them in, but you just watch what they do, and I ask them questions, and then everything. Like landscapers do pretty much everything, so it's good to learn little bits and pieces off everyone, so you can try it next time. And
that's right, and they're happy to show. If you ask them questions, they're happy to show, and that's what I really think that apprentices should do. Is when you get different trades out on site, no matter if it's a sparky or a plumber or whatever, just to see how they do things could help you out in the next job. It's highly beneficial. It's almost like watching YouTube. And when you Google things or you watch things on YouTube on how to put together whatever, when you're watching other trades do it, it's do their thing. It's sort of like even like when we get renderers in and you see what trowels they're using, and you go, oh shit, that looks unreal. Like, and just to see the technique and like the different trowels and just how they apply things. That way you can go on to the next job and go, look, I think I might be able to give this a crack.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to work with Ollie from Hungry Wolf. We got him on a couple of jobs, and I stripped his boxing a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
So even just the way that I had to get that apart, I know how to put it together based on reverse engineering it.
Yeah,
like things like when there was an overhang, so I left it for a week. That's why I was getting rid of it because he was gone by then.
Yeah.
But just putting a screw through so that the screw goes into the concrete and pulls the boxing out.
Yeah,
just really little things like that you wouldn't really think of.
Yeah,
but,
it's unreal. It's unreal with all that architectural concrete. It's. I say to the guys when we're boxing it up, you have to be able to drop a grenade in this thing and it not move. Yeah. Pretty much that's what you're boxing up. You got to really over-engineer it, all the bracing, everything you got to do, but it's got to be clean on the inside, and you have to be able to take it apart easily because you don't want to pour it and then it's going off and go, shit, I can't get to that screw because then you're in strife because you got to get to that screw for the face of the boxing to come off. And we've done a fair bit of architectural concrete now, and our whole thing was how we started doing it was actually, seeing guys like Hungry Wolf and Keenan Harris and all that, and actually like you'd see the post and zoom in and see how they box that up. You zoom in, and once you zoom in, you can sort of see, then you get a gist of how they've done it. Even like the shadow lines underneath the bottom of the concrete, you can sort of see and pick up things and see how they've done it. So, but I think it's fantastic where the industry's going with all that sort of stuff is unreal. Like the work that's getting done by some people is absolutely incredible. Yeah,
it looks awesome. I love it. I've only just started doing it because I enjoy doing it and I think it looks awesome as well. And it's not too hard physically to do.
No, it's not. It's just time consuming, I think. I think you just got to put all your effort into doing that boxing and don't cut any corners. And if you've done that, I think you're right. Once you start stripping it and you start troweling it, it's all in that boxing. I think as soon as that boxing goes pear shaped, you're in strife.
You can't fix it with troweling. Like if it's not.
No, if it's bowing out, it's really difficult. Yeah, and you want to try and. I think you just putting that extra, a few hours into the form work. Could save you so much heartache later on when you're stripping it, So
you've been doing some really nice stuff with that. So and you pretty much self-taught, are you?
Well, we do a lot of concreting. So we do a lot of exposed ag. We do all our pavement bases and driveways and stipple finish and all that sort of stuff. And with the architectural stuff, it was more just let's see if we can do it, and then. From learning how it was all boxed up, I think our first job we did, there was a couple of little things here and there that weren't quite right, but you learn from that on the next one. It still come out fantastic. I think it was more the edging and stuff like that when you're learning how to do all the edging and stuff like that. But the next job, I found that the next job was even better, and the one after that was even better. And I find you just build that confidence up in doing it. That, you feel like you can, pretty much do it all the time. Yeah, if you want.
Yeah, that's a good way to do things. Is just to learn. Like you say, it's what you've done is good, but you can always improve on it. Like where I did my letterbox with the word 5.
Yeah,
like that looks good, but there's a lot of things I would do differently if I did it again.
Exactly. You always find, and that's part of our trade, isn't it? You always see those imperfections. And on the first one we did, I saw those couple of imperfections, but the client was wrapped with it.
Yeah.
But you're always going to sort of pick on your own work, aren't you? I think.
Yeah, and I was talking to my guys just an hour and a half ago about things that we do on a job. And I said, this looks good. And this would have looked better if we did it this way next time.
Yeah.
So and yeah, there's always room for improvement. It's not like you're trying to be perfect, but you're just continually improving.
Yeah, exactly right. But you don't say that to the client.
Yeah. But like what we did is better than not what 99% of other landscapers would do.
Oh, exactly.
But
Yeah, that's
but
right. Yeah, yeah,
still we're competing against ourselves, trying to get
yeah,
better all the time.
yeah, exactly right. And you want to get better, and you want your guys to get better as well. And you sort of go, well, if we had boxed it up like this, that would have been easier to get out, and we wouldn't have chipped that little corner, or it's all like it's just there's no it's black or white with concrete. It's either going to be easy to strip or it's going to be an absolute nightmare. And like I said, if you can try and make it as easy as you can, put as much effort into the formwork and the boxing up as you can, and try and make it easier for you when you're actually pouring it, you're going to get that better result.
Yeah, and you got to be patient as well, which I struggle with because I don't have patience. Because
Yeah,
you got to the timing to take the formwork off.
yeah, yeah.
You can't take it off too early. You
No,
can't leave it on too long.
no, mate. Well, we've been on site at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, stripping and troweling under phone light, or we've had the spotlights on it. But it's just one of those things you have to do. You have to stay back and get it done. Middle of winter, I think we got. It was actually that job that you seen around the corner from your house. Late concrete. I think it was 3 o'clock. I think it came, and we're just sitting there, and then it's like you're sitting there for a long time, a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden it's like game on, bang, and it's like go time, and then you start stripping it, troweling it. But yeah, I think you just got to do the best job you can. But with those, there's a lot of guys would like you said, there was with a lot of landscapes out there. Some of them would just go, "Oh, that's good enough," and pull it in. A lot of concreters would do that too.
They'd be drunk by 3 o'clock.
Yeah, they would. I'll tell you what, we had a few beers that night too, so hopefully,
Hopefully they're straight.
Yeah, hopefully it turned out all right. But yeah, you just got to put the effort in, I think.
Yeah.
Client's paying the money at the end of the
Exactly.
day. If you've ordered the concrete late, well, that's on you.
Yeah. So have you got any machinery that you use? Because you had a quite extensive excavation background and when you were learning. So did you get stuff?
Yeah. So where I worked, we had 20 tonners, we had 5 tonners, we had massive Aussie track bobcats. These things were like 5 ton just in the machine. And when I'd go to trade school, all the guys are talking about dingoes, dingoes, dingoes. And I'm like, you guys are crazy, standing on the back of this little dingo with your hand, thumb. And so we did a lot of, but when I first started, I couldn't afford to buy a machine. So a lot of it was by hand, and a lot of the jobs, as you would know, were your Tuscan toppings, like your crusher up backyards, and just starting really small like that. And it literally almost broke me. Like I was by myself. I was doing, you just get 6 cube of crushed rock delivered, and then 4 cube of Tuscan, and then both piles are sitting there just waiting for you to start shoveling. So I think it was a massive sort of learning curve because I took advantage of it a bit when I was doing my apprenticeship. You sort of got a bit bored with it, being on the machine all the time, but you do take advantage of how much work you can get done with those machines. And then I bought a mini excavator, so a little 1.5 ton cat. And I've still got that cat, and that was probably 10 years ago. And we use it for everything, loading barrows. As much as we can use it for, we'll use it. But it's the best, most utilised machine, I reckon. It's probably not as quick at moving materials around as a bobcat, but we find most of our jobs you wouldn't use a bobcat anyway. So I'm happy to sit out the front with the excavator, have 2 blokes, 2 barrows, and we just load that with the machine. And so we've got that, and we've got a 3-ton tipper as well. So that's all we've got at the moment. But now it's sort of coming to the point where we've got a couple of big jobs on, and they're quite a distance apart that both need machines. So now I'm sort of leaning towards getting another machine so we can sort of leave one on one side and one on the other one, because you just don't know when you're going to need it. You could get It's a massive difference. Like we would get 10 cube of soil delivered, and if the machine's not there and the guys have to do it by hand, well, that's their day. If I've got the machine there, they could get 10 cube of soil in like 2.5 hours.
Mm.
It's a massive difference.
So what size machine would you get for the next one?
Yeah, same 1.5.
Yep.
I reckon it's perfect for what we do, residential. Yeah, I can put it on the back of the truck. I can put it on my trailer. I can tow it around anywhere, and it's powerful enough to dig any footing that you want to dig. And with the mud bucket, you can pretty much two buckets, and you can do 2 barrows. You can load 2 barrows. So yeah, I probably would get another 1.5 tonner for
Do you ever
sure.
hire any like dingoes or anything like that?
Hit at the start. I thought, I'll try out the dingo, see what they're all raving about at trade school. But I found just standing on the back of it, like it just takes its toll on your body a little bit. It throws you around, and my thumbs were hurting at the end of the day. And maybe I just wasn't used to it as much. Like I hadn't had the experience on them. But after that, I would hire like mini bobcats, like those little Toyota Huskies.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I just find that they get bogged in that all the time, and that's why I like the excavators, because you can move around a lot easier. You don't have to worry about getting bogged as much, and it's a bit more careful in those tight access jobs. You can, with a mini excavator, you can sort of we'll go into a backyard and we'll excavate, but we'll still have barrows. We'll still run barrows out. We won't have a machine going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out all day. Yep. So we'll go in with the excavator once, we'll load barrows, and then the barrows will pile it up out the front if we can't get it into the back of the truck. And then the excavator will just come out and load the truck, and then the truck will go, and then we'll just repeat the process. So,
yeah, I use those like we use a Vermeer. We hire that.
Yeah, they look good.
I love it. Oh, well, actually, Wack and Newson have got their SM100, I think it is.
Yeah,
which they're only new, but they're even better than the Vermeers. Like
I suppose those tractor machines that probably wouldn't throw you around as much as a dingo.
Yeah, well, the Wacker one is really fast. Like it's almost too fast.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, it's almost dangerous when how fast it actually goes. But yeah, I don't have any machines. But I reckon if I was going to buy one, I would buy an excavator because it's got more things that it can do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're digging footings or moving soil around, I just found you can just utilize it to do anything that you want to do. Whereas with the bobcats and dingo, they're purely just for moving material. I find for digging, no good. And when you're putting guys in it to learn, I find if you got a guy digging out a driveway or a backyard, that it's just a bit more fluent and they're a bit more careful. They can see things easier when they're digging. With a bobcat, you're sort of sitting in there. You can't really, if you're not experienced, you can't see what's behind you. You're spinning around, and then all of a sudden you've hit the house, and you're in strife. So
yeah, we've had that a couple of times with machines over the years. But
yeah, absolutely.
Patch it up with a render, it'll be right.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, we had just yesterday actually. We had some massive 200 by 200 spotter gun posts to put in a hole, like 12 of them to put in. Yeah, so 1.8 meter deep holes, I think they were. So the posts were 4 meters. So I hadn't thought about how we were going to get them in. So we got them over near the hole, and then we were thinking about standing them up, but they were going to be too heavy. Yeah. So I went and hired an excavator, chucked a sling around it, and picked them up. And it was so much easier than what I thought it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. We did the same thing. We had a job in Freshwater Creek, and he's putting some massive. That's a plume studio job, and same thing. We had these massive cypress posts. Chuck the sling on them on one end, and if you put it on one end, you can sort of lift the whole thing up, and then the bottom will just swing in, and then you can just sort of drop it in. But I think utilizing the machines, when you can, it just saves so much time and so much effort. And like you said, when you're trying to swing them in by hand, you'll probably take half the hole, and you end up backfilling half the hole trying to get them in.
And getting splinters go through your hand as it when it drops.
Yeah, exactly right. And then once it's in the hole, you set your string line up, and it's way off the string. You're like, oh shit! Now we've got to shimmy it over. But yeah, with the excavator, they're a great little machine to have. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you got a yard or somewhere where you keep everything?
We used to. So we used to have a factory, but I just found the machine was never there. The truck was never there. We just purely used it to store things. We'd have leftover materials, we'd bring it back and we'd store it there. And then in the hope that we'd use it on the next job, and we never did. So we ended up just getting rid of it. And now the truck, we just ship it around from site to site and we'll park it out the front. The machine just will go from site to site. And we've never had an issue doing that. We've had a couple of phone calls from neighbours, can you move the truck? That's it. And we've saved on fuel that way as well, because when you're driving back to and from the yard every day, the truck, it started, as you know, with the truck, it uses a bit more fuel than, you've got a newer truck than me, so it might not, but our truck does use a bit of fuel, so it was definitely more beneficial for us to leave it on site if we could. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to save you money by not having a shed as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I've got quite a decent garage at my house and a carport, and we store pretty much all the stuff there. I try to keep it as organised as I can. But when we had the yard, yeah, it was like, you'd have 10 bluestone pavers left over, so they would go in the yard and on a pallet, and then you'd have something else from another job and that would sit there. And then now I sort of try and give away a lot, and I'll bring stuff home, I'll sit it on the nature strip, and it's gone overnight. Yep. It's gone. So I'm happy to do that, and I've never charged anyone. If we've got a lot of pavers left over, you might throw a price on it, but I'm happy for someone to take stuff if it means I don't have to take it to the tip.
Yeah, we're the same. Like, we do it more with turf. When we've got turf left over, we'll just take it back to the shed, chuck it out the front, put a free sign there, and it's gone that day.
Oh, absolutely. We do the same. We'll leave it. We'll leave it at the job on the crossover. Stick a little free sign in it, and you're right. Like, it is gone. Like, people just eat it up. They love it. Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it matches what they've got their existing one. I'll just take it.
You, Buffalo, Fescue, they'll take it all. Absolutely. Yeah. If it's free, yeah, they will. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what stage did you put your first employee on?
I reckon I was by myself for a couple of years. I was very hesitant putting my first employee, and I always thought, can I afford to pay them? At that stage, work was coming in, but there were periods there where you weren't working for 1 week or you weren't working for 2 weeks. It was mainly during winter. So I reckon, just off the top of my head, I reckon it was maybe 2 or 3 years I was by myself, and then I hired an apprentice, and I had him for about 1.5 years, and then he ended up leaving. And then I actually hired one of my guys that I've still got now, who I did my apprenticeship with, back when we did commercial landscaping, and he's still there now. And now we've got 4 guys, 5 including me. So we've got 2 qualified and 2 apprentices. One's close to being qualified and one's 3rd year. So yeah.
Are you looking to put any more on?
Yeah, I am. I just the effort that goes into finding them is quite hard. It's really, really difficult. And as you know, like interviewing, I'm not the best at interviewing people. I said to a couple of my guys, I go, look, next person we get, we'll go in the street and we'll interview in the street, because I just find myself, I don't ask the right questions, and I find I get a bit matey with them, but they're just difficult to find. As you know, especially qualified guys, we haven't even really bothered trying to find a qualified guy for a long time, just because there's not many of them out there. They're out there, but they're working for themselves, or they're happy where they're working. We've actually picked up. Most of the guys we have now, we've got from the trade school teacher, Rod Turner. O'Malley.
I worked with him. He's the one I worked with for a few months before I actually started landscaping. So I did a couple of months with him.
Yeah, he was saying that. So a lot of the guys, we just say, Rod, we're looking for a guy, and he sort of puts the feelers out, because he's everywhere, Rod. He goes to all the sites, so he knows exactly who's not happy where they are. And so we have got we've got 3 guys off him.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, and they're all good because he wouldn't give us, he wouldn't give us the guys that aren't interested. So, yeah, I'm pretty grateful for him.
And you said your apprentices go through him?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So both apprentices go through him. I did my apprenticeship at NMIT Fairfield, which I enjoyed trade school. I loved the practical part of doing it. And I learned a lot. As I was saying before, I did all commercial. So I learned a lot at trade school, and just talking to the guys at trade school and what they were doing and what they were up to. You learn a lot from other people. And I did start my very first apprentice. I did start him at a trade school. It was at Gordon TAFE in Geelong, and I just had a few phone calls from trade teachers saying, "Look, so and so hasn't been here for 3 weeks. What's the go with him?" I said, "Oh, well, that's the first I've heard of it." So after that, I was like, "Nah, what can we do to stop this?" So then we ended up going with Murray Malley. So, and they've been fantastic.
So is that just on site?
That's on site, yeah. So he comes out every 6 weeks and he gives the boys the books. So the boys take the books home and they work through all the books, and then he'll come back and assess them. And any stuff that they do on site, they'll take photos and show him what they've been doing. Yeah. So no, it's really good. I think the best thing about actually going into a trade school once a week is being around the other guys and the other guys that are in the same position as you. I find it sort of builds your confidence in that trade. And you see, oh, this guy's doing crazy paving, or this guy's, he's building decks or whatever. I think the love for landscaping really comes from that. And to see the other guys, I think when you're seeing other guys that are really enjoying it, you go, yeah, no, actually, this is really good. I'm really enjoying it too. But when they don't have that, just like they're going into work every day. So I think that's the benefit of going in and doing trade school. But Murray Malloy's been great, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more profitable doing it your way as well, rather than sending off 1 day a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
I sent mine to the Gordon, but it's it's not because they're amazing or they learn heaps there. That's just what I've always done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But they do make good contacts.
Like it's just, it sort of threw me a bit when he wasn't turning up, and you're paying for that day.
Yeah,
paying him for that day.
I wouldn't be for those days.
No, exactly. And he was just sort of treating it like that was his day to get errands done. He might go in for half the day, and then the other half a day he's God knows where. But when you're paying him to do that, it's a bit stiff. Yeah.
It's pretty much a day off anyway when they go there.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but my experience at trade school, I really enjoyed it. At MIT, we had some great teachers there. And we learned, we did a lot of practice. And a lot of the guys, it's funny because a lot of the guys I see that I went to trade school with, I now see popping up here and there on Instagram. And yeah, it's good. It's good.
So with having 4 or 5 guys on, have you got 2 jobs going all the time?
Yeah, we do. We've actually got 4 on at the moment, which is it's a bit hectic at times. But yeah, usually, so I like to have 2 and 2. I just feel like, even though it's going to be a little bit slower having 2, they're always going to have something to do. If I put that other 2 with the other 2, so there's 4, will that job get done twice as quick? No, it won't. I think it'll get done maybe 1.5 times. I like to have heaps for 2 people to do rather than, sort of a little bit for 4, So, but there are times we'll do big concrete pours and I'll get all the boys over there. To help out, which is pretty much where I come from today. We just did a 6 cube pour in Highton, and I had pretty much all the guys except for one guy there giving us a hand. So for stuff like that, I will. And where there are a few guys that are better at some things than others. Like we've got a guy that's very good at paving, so we'll get him over to the other bloke's job when there's heaps of paving to do, to give him a hand and stuff like that. But I do try and keep 2 and 2. Yeah.
And what sort of mix do you use for your paving when you're laying on mud?
We do a 4-to-1 white brick sand, just cement, and we'll have Planicrete, that Mapei product, in with the water. I know that there's a lot of guys doing whitewashed, and instead of white brick sand, but I've never had a drama with white brick sand. It's just a bit more easier to use. Sort of oozes a bit easier. I find the whitewashed, it sort of compacts and it won't let you get the pavers down as easy as white brick sand. But we've never had dramas with that. And what we do is we'll make a bond slurry with the Planicrete water and straight cement, and we'll back butter the paver and we'll back butter the slab as well before the mortar goes down. So they're quite difficult to pull up with that mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got any stone you like using more than others?
I'm a massive fan of crazy paving. I absolutely love crazy paving. There are a few stones that are more difficult, like the endicott is, it's you get some pieces at 10 mil, some are 30 mil. So they're all undulating.
Yeah.
So it's very
That's
hard.
what my wife wants at our house.
Does she?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks absolutely beautiful, but I think you just have to keep in mind that even when you're doing it for a client, is you will get water sitting certain spots. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful stone. My favorite, yeah. So I like the crazy pattern. So I do like the endicotts, which is a quartz. I love bluestone. That's a classic, and we do a lot of red brick stuff as well. And now it's like a lot of your limestones, like some of the limestones out now are just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so I do like the limestone as well. Yeah.
Have you done any of the travertine crazy paving?
No, I haven't. No, I'd like to. I haven't. We've just been so booked up and flat out that we haven't even had the opportunity to. Most of the work now is designer work, so it's like you're not even really, when you're going out to do quotes now, you don't even have the opportunity to suggest some of these things. But I did find myself early days, because I love crazy paving so much. I would suggest crazy paving to a client and do it for normal paving rate, just to do it. And that would in turn get you the next job. Someone would see that and go, wow, that's amazing. Can you come and do my place or whatever? So I find just doing those little things, those little extra things, even though you're not going to make as much money off them, it really helped out early days. Yeah.
It's just marketing.
It's marketing. Yeah, exactly right. And then we had a business coach for a little bit, that John from Landscapers Coach.
Yep.
And he said to me that you need to, even on Instagram, your website, you need to advertise the work that you want to do. If you're advertising work that you don't want to do, you'll just keep getting that work. So he said your website and your Instagram has to look top notch. And what it's going to do is even when you're quoting, it's going to either weed out the guys that can't afford it, or it's going to really impress people that really want it. So people are either going to look at it and say, oh, look, we can't afford that, or yeah, we love it. Let's get these guys in. Let's do it. So I think it's happened. It's really helped with quoting as well, because you're not going out and quoting people and wasting your time and their time when at the end of the day they can't afford to do it. And that's another thing. Like, they don't know how much this stuff costs either. So it's very difficult. Yeah.
So how was it? How using a business coach? Did you find it changed you a lot and improved?
Yeah, that way it did. We had him for a few months, and it did, and he put some sort of systems in place, and he did help. And I did find him, just with these little things that we needed help with. He did help. Yeah. It was good. And just to get the opinion of someone, because we were just floating in the dark a little bit. We were just going along, and we had no idea how other guys. That's why we love the podcast so much, is you can hear how other guys have, what their experiences are, what they use. So it's helpful. Going forward, using some of these methods or not using some of these methods, seeing where people have made mistakes. Yeah, but we did do there was a few methods there that we used through him that have been highly beneficial to our company. Yeah.
And do you use any apps for keeping track of everything or quoting or anything like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So we use QuickBooks for quoting, invoicing. We don't really use it for accounting, but purely just quoting,
Yeah,
invoicing.
right.
And then we use Crew Tracker as well for the guys on site. So, and I absolutely love Crew Tracker. It's you put where you have all the list of sites that you have, and then you'll have your guys in there, and then you'll click on the site that the guys are going through tomorrow. When the guys get there, they'll clock in, they'll clock out, and that way I found it was very hard to keep track of their time when I wasn't there. And I felt bad. Like you'd ring them up, oh, what'd you do? What time did you do today? What time did you start? What time did you finish? And you felt like you were sort of interrogating them a little bit. So this way, my wife does all the accounting stuff. So that way she can log in and see exactly, because what it does is it pinpoints, like satellite pinpoints where they are when they clock in and clock out. So she can sort of see, oh, well, Ben's clocked in at Altona job, but he's clocked out at another job. And then, and then she can put all the times and that together. So, and do all the timesheets and stuff like that off that, which is really good. Yeah. Yeah. Crew Tracker is fantastic because you can also have all your swims in there. So the guys can open up the Crew Tracker app on their phone, access swims, sign it on their phone, and then it's done. So it just takes all that paperwork out of it all. So sounds like I'm selling Crew Tracker.
No, that's good. Like a lot of people want to hear about it. Like everyone knows all these apps exist, but you don't. And you could read on their website testimonials about them, but that's what they put on their website. So of course they're going to be good on there. So it's good to hear actual examples of how good they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even like you can put all your machinery in there. So if we were a bigger company, you could say, oh, this Bobcat's in Freshwater Creek, this excavator's down in Altona, and you can see where you can do all stuff like that as well. So yeah, Crew Trackers, it's really good. Yeah.
And what does it cost a month?
Oh mate, you're asking the wrong person. I don't know. I don't think it's much, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't think it's crazy, but it's definitely worth having because I didn't want to undercut the guys at the same time. I didn't want them to do half an hour OT here, half an hour OT there, and I didn't know about it, and I'm just putting them down for normal days. So it benefits me, it benefits them as well. So they're getting paid, like they're getting paid from when they clock in to clock out. So it helps them as well. They know that that's when their time starts and stops. So yeah, it's really good.
You mentioned a couple of designer projects that you're working on these days. And I've seen you work for SJ Landscapes. You did one for Cos Design and a couple for Plume Studio. So pretty cool designs. So how did all that come about?
Good. Yeah, really. Well, we started working for designers. Emma Rice from Embrace Design. She was the very first designer we worked for. And that was just a chance meeting. We were down in Williamstown. We were doing some paving there. And she just walked her kids to school and walked past. She goes, oh, she asked our names and company. And she said, oh, if I've got any jobs coming up, I'll get you to quote them. And I didn't hear from her for like 3 years or so. So I'm like, oh, that. So, and then eventually I did hear something. And then she had a job in Williamstown. I'll come and quote it, and we won that job. And she's absolutely fantastic to work for. Her designs are so quirky.
Yeah.
Really, she's happy to change them. She sort of gives you the concept, but doesn't tell you how to build it. She'll draw it and go, this is what I want, but you build it how you want to build it. So she's really good like that. And I found it just snowballed after that. Once we, with Instagram and you tagging that you're doing this designer's job, and then another designer will contact you. Can you quote my job? And it just sort of snowballed from there. So, and the Cos Design one, that was a great job. That was purely through the client. That was funny, that one, because I originally knocked it back, said we were too busy, but purely because they rang me and I thought it was just another one of those jobs, near Christmas, time waster. No, we're too busy, I said. And then they were pretty persistent. They called me again and I went out and had a look and they go, oh, here's the design we've got. And I'm like, oh shit, Cos Design. And then quoted it up and got that one. And yeah, that was a great job, and that still looks like he's the maintenance. He's had the maintenance done there, and that looks fantastic. And then Plume was pure. We do a lot of work for Serenity Pools Melbourne, and he he pretty much when he goes out to site to quote a pool, he pretty much says you need to have a landscape plan. So he gets a lot of the Bloom ones were from him. And the David Forge ones that we're doing currently are from him as well. So really appreciate the work that he gives us. He does give us a lot of work as well from Serenity Pools.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
What's your plan going forward? Are you just going to have the current number of staff you got ideally?
Oh, look, the issue is now is I got a couple of older guys, and they're sort of coming to me now going, where do you think the company's going to go from here? Because they want to move up. So now it's like, where do they move up to? So it's sort of at the thing now where it's either we stay how we're going and we just keep plodding along with what we're doing, or we hire more people, and then one of those guys turns into a construction manager, and the other one into a supervisor. I do want to. It's just as you know, it's a lot of work. Hiring people is so much work. You can't just hire them and go, here you go. I'm hoping, in the future to hire more people, but it's a tricky one at the moment, especially now. I don't know if you found like the quoting with the interest rate rises and all that stuff that's going on. I found the quoting has dropped off. Well, we've booked out for the rest of the year, but I found the quoting has dropped off a little bit. But these things happen, and they always have happened. So I'm hoping, once they pick up, we can, hopefully build it. That's the idea. I think that's the idea, and that's sort of the dream for it. But I'm not the best businessman. Like I love being on the tools, so I would love to grow it. But it's really hard for me to do it. I find it's a lot of work. Yeah.
So you're still on the tools every day?
Nah, no, I'm off the tools a fair bit now. I'm probably 80% off the tools now. Yeah. I've just found that I can't do it. Like I'll go into site, the phone will ring. I find if I'm on site for a full day with the guys, and then they'll go, all right, what are we doing tomorrow? And then I've gone, oh shit, well I haven't organised tomorrow because I've been here helping you guys. So I found now being off the tools and letting them actually do it, it's been really beneficial, and just keeping the work in front of them, keeping everything there so they can keep moving. It's been the best thing, for us. But it was very hard to do that, extremely hard. I would linger on site, I'll be there, I'll be lingering around, but now I'm just like, all right, I got to go do this, and then they know now that I'm either quoting or organising stuff or.
I couldn't do that yet because I just love doing. I'm probably going to die working because I just love doing it too much.
I absolutely. The days I'm on the tools are the best days. Just being with the guys, even today at the concrete pour. That's just you can just sort of switch off from everything and just do what you got to do. But then. And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh yeah, and the boys will come. What's to go tomorrow? And then they haven't got things organised in front of them, and then you run it around trying to organise things in the morning. It's just too hard.
Yeah. I find like I'm terrible at getting back to emails because I'm busy working and getting stuff done, and then at the end of the day, I get home and can't be bothered. So
that's right. And I was the same. Like we'd be. When I was fully on the tools, I would come home, I'd get back to emails, I'd be doing quotes at night, and it started wearing me down a bit. And I found myself not focusing enough on the quoting part of it. You were just going, oh yeah, that number will do.
Yeah,
that number will do. And now I'm purely quoting is in business hours, and that's it. And that's the only time I'll do them. Going to do a quote, I'm happy to go to someone's house if they're not home and they get home late from work, I'm happy to go. Or Saturday, if they can't do it during the week, I'm happy to go quote on Saturday. But working out the quotes, I'm purely work times only, just so I can focus on it a bit more. Now that the jobs are getting really sort of, very high end, very expensive jobs, I've got to really focus on quoting them properly, because you can just come unstuck on them, especially labor. Like, I'm not bad with materials, but labor, like saying something's going to take 2 weeks and it takes 4, that can do you.
Yeah, and especially when you're working for the high-end designers for the first time or early times, I found that there's things you don't realize. There's so much detail involved until you're actually building it.
Exactly. When we were doing the COS design one, I was talking to the pool builder, and he said to me, are you making money on this job? I said, oh, yeah, it's not too bad. He goes, because a lot of people I talk to do COS design. He goes, mate, they're just not making any money. He goes, they're so intricate that you look at the design and go, yeah, this is the price, but it ends up taking twice as long to do it, just to get the look that Steve's going for. So you got to be very careful, and you got to really look into the get everything with a fine tooth comb, and just allow enough. I think just allow enough. Sometimes people won't allow enough just to get the job, and then they'll go to do it. And there's nothing worse that I find, if blokes have underquoted, the quality will come down.
Mm.
If you're getting paid enough to do the job, I think the quality will remain, and you'll do a fantastic job.
Yeah. Yeah, more likely to. Like, there's times where you'll quote cheaper, like you were doing when you were doing the crazy paving. To try and do
that's
it.
purely marketing, isn't it? It's
yeah.
just it's getting into that market, and I suppose those little sacrifices you do at the start just to get into that market are the things you have to do, and then you start upping your price on it. So yeah.
And last question for you, Dan, is who do you think would be a good guest to have on the podcast?
I was actually thinking about this, and I reckon you should get Rod Turner on.
Oh yeah.
I think just to get a different opinion, because he goes and sees all the apprentices, so just to get their sort of the future of the industry. So just to get his thoughts and his opinion on how he thinks the industry's going. Yeah.
I might see if I can recruit some employees off him as well, like you've been doing.
You might have to, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I could talk to Rod for hours on site. Unfortunately, can't, because we've got to get some work done. But you might have to allow 2 hours, I reckon, to do a podcast for Rod. He loves a chat, but he's the nicest bloke. Yeah, as you know, he used to work for him. Yeah, he's a top lad, and he's done it all. Like, he had his own business and all that sort of stuff. But so he'd be, I think, a great guest to have on.
Yeah. Now you can talk about how useless I was at the start as well, because I was shocking when I started.
Yeah.
I was so bad.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I was, just had no idea what I was doing at all. And I was worse than probably 50% of the employees I put on. So I should be a bit more patient with them. But I just had no idea. That's shocking.
But a lot of them don't, and if they show that initiative, I think that's where they've got to go. Like, if you turn up the site early, like 5 minutes early, whatever, you just get stuck in. Like, and you show that your boss that you want to be there, he's going to give you more. He's going to give you more work, because you're proving that you want to be there, you want to do it, even though you can't. It's the ones that sort of stand back and wait to be told things. They're the ones you're like, do you really want to be here? Yeah. So those ones that take the initiative and they get stuck in, I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just want people who actually want to be there, not just doing it because it's a job and they have to earn money.
That's right. And we all understand, like, it's apprenticeship money, it's shit money. But like, it's a short period of time where you have to try and learn as much as you can to help you out in the future. If you want to do this as a trade, like, learn as much as you can in that apprenticeship, and do as much as you can. And your boss is going to thank you for it at the end of the day. And that's when you're not going to get pay rises and stuff like that just by sitting back. Like, they don't just sort of come. You got to show that you want to be there, and show that you want to do this as a career. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you're an employee and you're making a lot of money for your employer, there's no doubt you'll get some of that. You'll get
absolutely.
Bonuses.
The employer definitely sees it.
Yeah.
Even if he hasn't said anything, he knows. Like, one of the guys I got now, like, I can leave him on site. He can build a deck, screen, whatever, start to finish by himself, easy. And that stuff doesn't go unnoticed. Like you know he can do that, and you know that any job you put him on, he can do that without supervision. And that it goes a long way. So even though some of these apprentices think they're overlooked, think they're just barrow pushing or whatever, like the boss won't. Yeah, if you're doing going the extra mile, the boss doesn't miss that. He knows. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Dan, can't thank you enough for coming on. I certainly love these chats with landscape builders like myself, I think. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.